Maggie Sullivan's hands were shaking when she knocked on the last door in Silverbrook. Not from the cold, though the Wyoming blizzard was coming fast and brutal. Not from fear, though her 3 sons huddled behind her silent and starving. Her hands shook because she knew what was coming. She'd seen it in 23 faces already, that look that said, widow meant trouble, meant improper, meant go die somewhere else. The door opened. Mrs. Winters stood there, eyes hard as the ice forming on the windows. "No!" The door slammed. Maggie didn't cry. She'd run out of tears 8 months ago when they'd brought Daniel home in a pine box. Before we continue, if you're drawn to stories of second chances and the courage it takes to start over, please subscribe to this channel. Stay with us until the end to see how love finds the broken, and comment below with the city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Now let's begin. Oh, the wind hit like a fist when Maggie turned from Mrs. Winters' boarding house. Behind her, 12-year-old Daniel pulled his brothers closer. 9-year-old Will tried to smile, tried to be brave. 6-year-old Charlie didn't make a sound. He hadn't spoken in 3 months. "Ma," Daniel said quietly. "What now?" Maggie looked down Main Street. Every window glowed warm with lamplight. Every door had rejected them. 23 doors in 2 hours. 23 versions of the same answer. "We don't take charity cases." "A woman alone with 3 boys improper." "Your husband should have thought of his family before he got himself killed." That last one had come from Reverend Pierce himself, a man of God who'd quoted scripture about helping widows, then closed his church doors in her face. "The wagon," Maggie said. "We'll sleep in the wagon." "Ma, it's 15 below." Will's optimism finally cracked. "We'll freeze." "Then we'll freeze together." She said it flat matter of fact, not brave, just empty. When you've got nothing left to lose, even death stops being scary. They walked toward the edge of town where they'd left the wagon. Everything they owned, packed into 2 trunks and a few burlap sacks. One horse so thin, its ribs showed through its hide. The animal hadn't been fed properly in weeks. Neither had the boys. "Wait." Maggie turned. A woman stood in the doorway of the general store. Black woman, maybe 60 eyes, sharp but not cruel. "You the Sullivan widow?" the woman asked. "Yes, ma'am." "Isaiah Freeman's my husband. He's out back. Says he might have work if you're willing." Hope flared dangerous and painful. "What kind of work?" "Sewing, mending. He runs the store. I run the seamstress business upstairs. Pays not much, but there's a room. Small one. You'd have to share." Daniel stepped forward. "We'll take it." The woman looked at him. Something shifted in her face. "How old are you, son?" 12, ma'am." "You the man of the family now?" "Yes, ma'am." She studied all 3 boys, then Maggie. Finally nodded. "Constance Freeman, come inside before you freeze." The room was barely 10 feet square. 1 bed, 1 chair, a stove that gave more smoke than heat. But it had walls and a door that locked. "Rent's $4 a month," Constance said. "You sew 6 days a week, dawn to dusk. Sundays off for church if you're inclined." "I can do that." "Boys'll need to work too. Store needs sweeping, stock needs moving. Isaiah'll pay them 50 cents a week combined." Daniel's jaw tightened, but he nodded. At 12, he understood poverty. Understood what 50 cents meant when you had nothing. Will grinned. "I'm a good sweeper, ma'am. Real good." Charlie said nothing. He pressed against Maggie's skirt, small hand gripping fabric. Constance's expression softened. "What's wrong with the little one?" "Nothing's wrong with him," Maggie said quickly, too quickly. "Didn't mean offense. Just asking." "He's fine. He just doesn't talk much." Constance didn't push. "Stew's in the pot downstairs. Eat first, work starts tomorrow." She left. The door clicked shut. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Will let out a breath that turned to steam in the cold air. "We're not gonna die, Ma." Maggie pulled all three boys close. No baby, not today. That night, they ate stew that was more water than meat. They slept 4 to a bed meant for 1. Charlie whimpered in his sleep, dreaming of the train accident that had killed his father. Daniel stared at the ceiling, too angry to rest. Will snored softly, exhausted. Maggie lay awake. Through the thin walls, she heard the town settling in for the night. Laughter from the saloon, a piano playing. Normal people living normal lives, people who had homes and safety and didn't have to beg for shelter. She thought about Daniel, her husband, not her son. Thought about the last thing he'd said before he'd left for work that morning. "I'll be home for supper, Maggie, I promise." He'd kept every promise he'd ever made, until that one. The train coupling had failed. The cargo car had rolled backward. Daniel had been standing in exactly the wrong place at exactly the wrong time. They'd brought him home 3 hours later. The railroad company had given her $50 and a letter of condolence. $50 to raise 3 boys alone. It had lasted 2 months. Morning came brutal and cold. Maggie woke to find ice on the inside of the window. Charlie was crying silently, tears freezing on his cheeks. She pulled him close, whispered wordless comfort until he calmed. Downstairs, Isaiah Freeman was already working. He was a tall man, broad-shouldered, with gray in his beard and kindness in his eyes. "Mrs. Sullivan." He nodded. "Coffee's hot. Boys eat first, then we work." They ate cornmeal mush with a spoonful of molasses. First real meal they'd had in days. Daniel ate mechanically, watching Isaiah with suspicion. Will ate like he was starving, which he was. Charlie picked at his bowl until Maggie coaxed him. "Daniel?" Isaiah said. "You're with me in the store. Will, you'll help Constance upstairs. Charlie can stay with his ma." "He can work," Daniel said. "He's not useless." "Didn't say he was. Said he can stay with his ma." Daniel's face flushed. "We don't need charity." "Good. I'm not offering any. I'm offering work for pay. You want it or not." They stared at each other. Finally, Daniel looked away. "Yes, sir." "Then let's get to it." The work was hard. Maggie's fingers cramped after the first hour of sewing. By noon they were bleeding. By evening she could barely hold the needle. Constance watched but didn't comment, just brought her strips of cloth to wrap her fingers. "You'll toughen up," Constance said. "Give it time." "I don't have time." "Then you'll toughen up faster." Downstairs, Daniel hauled crates that weighed almost as much as he did. Will swept and sorted and ran errands with cheerful determination. Charlie sat in the corner watching everything, saying nothing. That evening, Isaiah paid them. $4 for Maggie, 50 cents for the boys. He counted it into Daniel's hand with careful respect. "You did good work today, son." Daniel pocketed the money without speaking. Outside, the temperature dropped. The blizzard that had been threatening all week finally hit. Snow came down in thick, blinding sheets. Wind howled like something alive and furious. Maggie stood at the window watching the street disappear. Somewhere out there was the rest of the world. Somewhere people were warm and safe and loved. "Ma." Will appeared beside her. "It's nice here, isn't it?" "It's a room, baby." "But it's our room. Nobody can kick us out." She pulled him close. "No, baby. Nobody can kick us out." But even as she said it, she knew it wasn't true. $4 a month. If she got sick, if the boys got sick, if work dried up, they'd be back on the street, back knocking on doors that wouldn't open. The blizzard lasted 3 days. Silverbrook shut down completely. Nobody went out, nobody came in. The world outside became nothing but white noise and darkness. On the second day, someone knocked. Daniel opened the door. A man stood there, covered in snow, face hidden by a scarf. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the man unwrapped the scarf. He was maybe 35, maybe older. Dark hair, gray eyes, a face that looked like it had forgotten how to smile. He held a bundle wrapped in canvas. "Isaiah here. Store's closed. Daniel said. I know. I'm not here for the store. Isaiah appeared on the stairs. His expression shifted. Jace, didn't expect you till spring. Supplies ran out. The man Jace held out the bundle. Payment for last month's order. Isaiah took it. You didn't have to come out in this. Needed to anyway. Jace's eyes moved past Isaiah, found Maggie, held there for a moment, then shifted to the boys. Something changed in his face, something Maggie couldn't read. You're the widow, Jace said. It wasn't a question. Yes. The one the town turned out. Heat flooded her cheeks. News travels fast. Small town, cruel town. He looked at Isaiah. She's staying here? Working for us? Why? Jace didn't answer. He looked at Charlie, who was hiding behind Will. What's wrong with him? Nothing's wrong with him, Maggie snapped. Didn't mean it that way. Jace's voice was quiet. My daughter used to do that. Hide. After loud noises scared her. Your daughter? She's dead. 4 years now. The room went silent. Even the wind seemed to quiet. Jace turned to leave, then stopped. Storm's getting worse. You've got enough food. We'll manage, Isaiah said. That's not what I asked. We've got enough. Jace nodded slowly. Then he pulled a cloth sack from his coat, handed it to Isaiah. Extra, from my stores. Don't argue. He left before Isaiah could respond. The door closed. Snow swirled in the silence he left behind. Who was that? Daniel asked. James Hartley. Folks call him Jace. Isaiah set the sack on the counter. Inside was dried meat beans coffee. More food than they'd seen in weeks. He's a rancher. Lives about 5 miles north. Keeps to himself mostly. Why'd he bring food? Will asked. Because he's a decent man in a town full of decent people pretending they're not. Constance came downstairs. He's still broken up about Emily and Lucy. 4 years, and he's still sleeping in that barn. Isaiah shook his head. Man needs to forgive himself, but he won't. What happened to them? Maggie asked. Cholera epidemic winter of '79. Hit the town hard. Emily and Lucy got sick while Jace was out on a cattle drive. By the time he got word and rode back, they were already buried. That's not his fault. Tell him that. Constance started unpacking the food. He's been dying slow ever since. Won't sell his land, won't work it proper, won't let anyone help him. Just exists out there like a ghost. Daniel was watching through the window. He's still standing out there. They all looked. Jace stood in the street snow gathering on his shoulders. He was staring at something. Following his gaze, Maggie saw a small wooden cross on the hill outside town. The cemetery. He does that sometimes, Isaiah said quietly. Visits them in the middle of storms, like he's punishing himself. That's not grief, Constance said. That's guilt. Maggie understood guilt. She understood looking at your children and wondering if you could have done more, been better, saved them somehow. She understood the weight of a promise broken. Ma. Charlie tugged her skirt. He pointed at the window. Jace was walking away. Slow, deliberate steps into the blinding snow, heading back toward his ranch, toward his empty barn and his dead wife's memory. He won't make it, Daniel said. Not in this storm. He always makes it, Isaiah said. Man's too stubborn to die. But Maggie watched until Jace disappeared into the white. Something about him had shaken her. Not his grief, she understood grief. Something else. Something in the way he looked at her boys. Like he was seeing ghosts. That night the storm worsened. Wind tore at the building. Snow piled against the door. Somewhere in town, glass shattered. Somewhere else, someone screamed. Then silence. Maggie held Charlie close. He was shaking, but not from cold. From memory. The train wreck had happened in a storm like this. Metal screaming people crying his father's voice calling his name one last time. "Shh, baby, you're safe. I've got you." But Charlie didn't believe her. She could feel it in the way he gripped her dress, the way his whole body tensed at every sound. He'd stopped believing in safety the day they'd buried his father. "Ma," Will whispered, "is Mr. Hartley going to be okay?" "I don't know, baby. He seemed sad. He is sad. Sadder than us." Maggie closed her eyes. "Different kind of sad." Daniel spoke from the darkness. "He lost his family. We lost Pa. It's the same." "No," Maggie said. "It's not. We still have each other. He's got nobody." "Good," Daniel said bitterly. "He's got what he deserves." Daniel. "Everyone in this town's got what they deserve. They turned us away. They left us to die. I hope they all freeze." "Don't say that." "Why not?" "It's true." Maggie wanted to argue, wanted to tell him that anger would poison him, that forgiveness was the only way forward. But she couldn't. Because part of her, the part that had knocked on 23 doors that had heard 23 versions of no, agreed with him. The storm blew for 3 more days. When it finally stopped, Silverbrook was buried under 6 feet of snow. Main Street was impassable. Shops stayed closed. People stayed inside. On the 4th morning, someone found old Mr. Peterson frozen in his bed. He'd lived alone. Nobody had checked on him. He was 83, Reverend Pierce said at the funeral. He lived a full life. Maggie stood at the back of the church boys beside her. She watched the Reverend speak pretty words about God's mercy and eternal rest. Nobody mentioned that Peterson had frozen to death because nobody had brought him firewood. Nobody mentioned that the same town that was now mourning him had let him die alone. After the service, Clayton Blackwood approached her. He was a tall man, well-dressed, smile like a knife. "Mrs. Sullivan, Clayton Blackwood. I don't believe we've met." "Mr. Blackwood." She kept her voice neutral. "I heard you're working for the Freemans. That's admirable. Hard work builds character." "Did you need something?" His smile widened. "Direct. I appreciate that. I'll be direct too. I'm building a railroad through this territory. Good paying jobs progress prosperity. But I need cooperation from local landowners." "I don't own land." "No, but your late husband did. Mining claim up in Silver Creek. Small thing, probably worthless. But legally it's yours now." Maggie's stomach tightened. "How do you know about that?" "Public record. I make it my business to know these things." He handed her a card. "I'd like to buy it from you. Fair price. Enough to set you and your boys up properly. Better than sewing for pennies." "How much?" $200. It was more money than she'd seen in her life. Enough to rent a real house, buy food, clothes, maybe even start over somewhere else. She looked at the card. Clayton Blackwood, Blackwood Railroad Company. "I'll think about it." "Don't think too long. Winter's hard. Accidents happen." His smile never wavered, especially to people without protection. He walked away. Daniel appeared at her elbow. "Who was that?" "Nobody. Just a businessman." "I don't trust him." "You don't trust anyone." "Maybe I shouldn't." That afternoon, Maggie asked Isaiah about the mining claim. He spread a map on the counter, pointed to a spot in the mountains. "Your husband filed the claim 3 years ago. Never worked it, though. Probably nothing there." "Then why does Blackwood want it?" Isaiah's expression darkened. "Because it's on the route he needs for his railroad. He's been buying up land all winter. Some folks sold, some wouldn't. The ones who wouldn't had problems. Fires mostly. Accidents." "You think he'd hurt us?" "I think Clayton Blackwood does what Clayton Blackwood wants, and what he wants is that claim." $200, Isaiah. "I know. That's half a year's wages." "I know. My boys are hungry." "I know." He folded the map. "But ask yourself why he's offering so much for something worthless. Ask yourself what happens to people who give him what he wants. They get paid, sure. Then they get forgotten, used up and thrown away. Maggie thought about the 23 doors, thought about Mrs. Winter's hard eyes and Reverend Pierce's closed church, thought about a town that would let an old man freeze rather than bring him firewood. What if I say no? Then you'd better be ready for what comes after. That night, another storm hit, smaller than the first but vicious. Maggie lay awake listening to wind tear at the walls, listening to Charlie's quiet breathing, Will's snores, Daniel's restless shifting. $200. 6 words kept running through her head. What if I can't protect them? She thought about Jace Hartley walking into the storm to visit graves, a man who'd lost everything and couldn't forgive himself. She thought about her boys growing thinner every day despite Isaiah's kindness. She thought about winter stretching endlessly ahead, and she thought about Daniel, her husband, and the last promise he'd made. I'll be home for supper, Maggie, I promise. Some promises couldn't be kept. Some promises died with the people who made them. Maybe the only way forward was to let go, take the money, start over. But something in her, something stubborn and fierce, refused. She'd spent 8 months being pushed, rejected, dismissed. 8 months being told she was improper, shameful, a burden. 8 months of doors slamming in her face. Maybe it was time to stop asking permission to exist. Morning came cold and bright. Maggie found Constance in the kitchen making coffee. I need to learn to shoot, Maggie said. Constance looked up. That's so. If someone comes for my boys, I want to be ready. Clayton Blackwood came for you, didn't he? He made an offer. And you told him no. Not yet. But I'm going to. Constance poured 2 cups of coffee, handed one to Maggie. You know what you're starting. I know what I'm finishing. Daniel worked that claim. It's all I have left of him. I'm not selling it to a man who wants to erase my husband's memory. Even if it means danger. Especially if it means danger. I'm done being afraid. Constance smiled. It was the first real smile Maggie had seen on the woman's face. Isaiah's got a rifle. I'll teach you to use it. Outside, the sun was rising over Silverbrook. The town looked almost peaceful under its blanket of snow. Almost kind. But Maggie knew better now. She knew what hid behind pretty windows and warm lights. Knew what lived in the hearts of people who called themselves righteous. She'd knocked on 23 doors. Now it was time to build her own. And if anyone tried to tear it down, well, she'd be ready. The rifle was heavier than Maggie expected. Constance showed her how to hold it, how to breathe, how to squeeze the trigger instead of pulling. Don't aim to scare, Constance said. If you point this at someone, you'd better be ready to use it. I will be. They practiced in the alley behind the store. Maggie's first shot went wide, kicking her shoulder hard enough to bruise. Her second hit the fence post. Her third split it clean. You're a natural, Constance said. I'm motivated. Daniel watched from the doorway, arms crossed. When Maggie finished, he stepped forward. Teach me too. You're 12. Pa was shooting at 10. I need to know how to protect us. Maggie wanted to argue, wanted to tell him he was still a child, that protecting the family was her job. But she looked at his face, so much older than 12, so much harder than any boy should be, and handed him the rifle. Show me your stance. He'd been watching. His form was nearly perfect. That afternoon, Clayton Blackwood's men came to the store. 3 of them dressed in expensive coats, smiles that didn't reach their eyes. The leader was a man named Tucker. No relation to the old script, just unfortunate coincidence. Mrs. Sullivan, Mr. Blackwood sent us to finalize the paperwork. I haven't made a decision. He's a generous man. The offer stands. $200. I said I haven't decided. Tucker's smile thinned. Ma'am, winter's long. 3 boys to feed. That's a heavy burden for a woman alone. I'm managing. Are you? He looked around the cramped room above the store. This is managing, living in a box sewing till your fingers bleed. Isaiah appeared on the stairs. The lady said she's thinking on it. Time for you to leave. Tucker's eyes went cold. This is business, Freeman. Don't make it personal. Everything's personal. Now get out. The three men left, but Tucker stopped at the door. Mr. Blackwood appreciates cooperation. He's less appreciative of obstacles. Think on that, Mrs. Sullivan. After they were gone, Isaiah locked the door. You need to decide soon. Men like that don't wait forever. I've already decided. The answer's no. Then you'd better be ready for what comes next. What came next was silence. 3 days passed. No more visits from Blackwood's men. No threats, no pressure. The town went about its business like nothing had happened. I don't like it, Constance said. They're planning something. Let them plan. But Maggie slept with the rifle beside the bed, and Daniel stopped sleeping at all. On the 4th day, Jace Hartley came back. He arrived just before sunset, riding a horse that looked as tired as he did. He tied up outside the store, walked in covered in trail dust. Isaiah, need supplies. You were just here last week. I know. Isaiah studied him. You checking on the widow? Jace's jaw tightened. Heard Blackwood's pressuring her. News travels fast. Small town. I asked you a question. She said no to his offer. He's not happy about it. Jace was quiet for a long moment. Then, where is she? Upstairs. Why? Need to talk to her. Maggie was mending a shirt when Constance called up the stairs. You've got a visitor. She found Jace standing by the counter, hat in his hands. Up close, she could see the exhaustion in his face. The man hadn't been sleeping any better than Daniel. Mr. Hartley. Ma'am, I'll be brief. Clayton Blackwood's going to come after you. Hard. I can handle myself. I don't doubt it. But Blackwood doesn't play fair. He'll wait till you're vulnerable, then he'll strike. Why do you care? The question came out sharper than she intended. Jace flinched like she'd slapped him. Because, he said slowly, I know what it's like to lose everything, and I know what it's like to stand by while it happens. I'm not your responsibility. No. But those boys are someone's, and right now someone needs to be you. Maggie's temper flared. You think I don't know that? You think I haven't been fighting for them every single day since their father died? I don't need a broken-down rancher telling me how to protect my family. You're right. Jace put his hat on. You don't. But when Blackwood comes, and he will come, you'll need more than a rifle and good intentions. He walked out. Maggie stood there, hands shaking with anger and something else, something that felt uncomfortably like shame. You were hard on him, Constance said quietly. He had no right. He was trying to help. I don't need his help. I don't need anyone's help. Constance looked at her with something like pity. Everyone needs help, child. Pride's a poor substitute for protection. That night, Maggie couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the conversation, kept seeing Jace's face when she'd lashed out. The man had lost his wife and daughter. He knew grief. And she'd thrown it in his face like a weapon. Beside her, Charlie whimpered in his sleep. She pulled him close, whispered comfort. Across the room, Daniel sat by the window, watching the street, keeping guard. Daniel, go to sleep. Can't. You need rest. So do you. She couldn't argue with that. Ma, he said after a moment, what if he's right? What if we can't fight Blackwood alone? Then we'll find a way. How? She didn't have an answer. Morning came with smoke. Maggie woke to the smell of burning wood, sat up fast. Through the window she could see flames bright orange against the pre-dawn darkness. Fire! She grabbed the boys, pulled them up. Move! They stumbled downstairs. Isaiah and Constance were already outside. Half the town was gathering, forming bucket lines. The livery stable was burning flames reaching toward the sky. Anyone inside? Someone shouted. Don't know? Check the back. Men ran forward. The heat was intense, pushing them back. Then someone stumbled out of the smoke, the stable owner coughing face blackened with soot. "The horses!" he gasped. "Still inside!" Jace Hartley appeared out of nowhere. He didn't hesitate, just pulled his coat over his head and ran into the flames. "He's insane!" someone yelled. "He'll die in there!" But 30 seconds later, Jace emerged, leading 2 panicked horses. He went back in, came out with 2 more, went back a 3rd time. The roof collapsed just as he dove through the door with the last horse. Timbers crashed where he'd been standing seconds before. The horse bolted. Jace collapsed on the ground, coughing. Maggie ran to him without thinking. "Are you hurt?" "I'm fine." His voice was raw from smoke. "You could have died." "Wouldn't be the worst thing." The words hit her like ice water. She grabbed his face, forced him to look at her. "Don't you dare! Don't you dare throw your life away like it doesn't matter." "Why not? What's it matter to you?" "Because my son's watching, and if you go into that fire wanting to die, what does that teach him? That grief wins, that guilt stronger than living." Jace stared at her. Around them, the town fought the fire. Finally, he pulled away. "You don't know anything about me." "I know you're punishing yourself for something that wasn't your fault. I know you think you should have died with them, and I know that's the coward's way out." "You calling me a coward?" "I'm calling you human. Same as me. Same as everyone who's ever lost someone and didn't know how to keep breathing after." For a moment, she thought he'd argue. Instead, he just looked tired. So deeply, profoundly tired. "The fire wasn't an accident," he said quietly. "What?" "Look at the burn pattern. Started in 3 places. That's arson." Maggie turned. He was right. Even through the chaos, she could see at 3 distinct points of origin. "Blackwood," she whispered. "Can't prove it. But yeah, this is him showing you what happens when you say no." The stable burned for 2 hours. By the time they got it under control, there was nothing left but ash and charred timber. The stable owner sat in the street, head in his hands. "I'm ruined. That was everything." Reverend Pierce appeared, laid a hand on the man's shoulder. "The Lord provides, brother." "The Lord just burned my livelihood to the ground." "Have faith." "Faith doesn't pay for rebuilding." The stable owner stood shaking. "Faith doesn't feed my family." He walked away. The Reverend stood there, scripture dying on his lips. Around him, people whispered. Everyone knew what this was. Everyone knew who'd done it. But nobody said it out loud. Clayton Blackwood arrived at noon. He walked down Main Street like a king surveying his domain, 3 men flanking him. He stopped at the stable ruins, shook his head sadly. "Terrible tragedy. We'll need to investigate the cause, of course. But these old buildings, they're tinder boxes. One spark and..." He spread his hands. "Gone." "It was arson," Jace said. Blackwood turned. His smile was poison sweet. "Mr. Hartley, I didn't see you there. Do you have evidence of that claim?" 3 burn points. Smell kerosene if you get close enough." "Interesting theory. Sheriff, did you smell kerosene?" The sheriff, a weak-chinned man named Bullock, shifted uncomfortably. "Can't say I did." "There you have it. Tragic accident. Nothing more." Blackwood's eyes found Maggie in the crowd. These things happen when people don't have proper protection. Community support, financial stability. Safety requires resources, Mrs. Sullivan. Perhaps you should reconsider my offer." "Go to hell!" Gasps rippled through the crowd. Blackwood's smile widened. "Such language. And in front of your boys. What would your late husband think?" Daniel lunged. Maggie caught him, held him back. The boy was trembling with rage. "My husband," Maggie said coldly, "would think you're a coward who burns buildings in the night because you can't win in the daylight." "Careful, ma'am. Accusations like that could be considered slander." "Truth isn't slander." "Prove it." She couldn't. That was the trap. Everyone knew, but nobody could prove it. Blackwood tipped his hat. The offer stands. $200. But I'm afraid the price will drop if you wait much longer. Supply and demand, you understand. Good day, Mrs. Sullivan. He walked away. The crowd parted for him like water around a stone. That night, the Freemans called a meeting. 12 families gathered in the store. Everyone Blackwood had pressured, everyone who'd lost something to his schemes. We need to stand together, Isaiah said. Alone, we're vulnerable. Together, we're strong. Together, we're targets, someone argued. He'll burn us all out. So we let him win, let him take everything. I've got children. I can't risk. We've all got children. Constance's voice cut through the arguing. That's exactly why we need to fight. What kind of world are we leaving them if we teach them to bow down to bullies? Silence, heavy and uncomfortable. Finally, the stable owner spoke. I'm in. Already lost everything. Got nothing left to fear. I'm in, someone else said. Then another, then another. In the end, 8 families committed. Not everyone, not even half, but enough. Maggie stood. I'm in too. Mrs. Sullivan, Isaiah said gently, you've got the most to lose. Exactly. That's why I have to fight. Jace was leaning against the wall watching. You'll need a place to gather. Somewhere Blackwood can't touch. Somewhere with sight lines and defensible positions. You offering? Isaiah asked. My ranch, 5 miles north. It's isolated, but it's got wells and a barn and enough space for everyone. Why would you do that? Jace looked at Maggie. Because someone needs to, and I'm tired of standing by. The meeting ended near midnight. As people filed out, Jace approached Maggie. I owe you an apology. For what? Earlier. At the fire. You were right. I was being a coward. I shouldn't have said it like that. Yeah, you should have. I needed to hear it. He pulled a piece of paper from his coat. This is a map to my ranch. If things get bad when things get bad, you bring your boys there. Don't ask permission. Don't wait. Just come. Mr. Hartley. Jace, please. She took the map. Their fingers brushed. Neither pulled away immediately. Why are you doing this? She asked. Because, he said quietly. 4 years ago, my daughter got sick and I wasn't there. I can't change that. Can't bring her back. But maybe I can make sure someone else's daughter doesn't lose her mother. Someone else's son doesn't grow up alone. I have boys, not a daughter. Same principle. He left before she could respond. Maggie stood there holding the map, feeling the weight of it. This wasn't just directions to a ranch. This was trust, offered freely without conditions. She wasn't sure she remembered what that felt like. The next 2 weeks were tense. Blackwood's men were everywhere watching. Twice Maggie found them loitering outside the store. Once Daniel chased them off with threats that would have made a sailor blush. You can't do that, Maggie said. Why not? Because you're 12. So they're cowards. Cowards back down when you face them. He was learning all the wrong lessons. But Maggie didn't know how to teach him different. The world had shown him cruelty. How could she convince him kindness was stronger? On the 15th day, Charlie spoke. It happened at breakfast. Will was talking. He was always talking about a bird he'd seen, and Charlie opened his mouth and said robin. Everyone froze. What did you say, baby? Maggie's voice shook. Robin. Charlie's voice was rusty from disuse. That's a robin. Will grabbed him, hugged him so hard they both nearly fell. You talked, Charlie. You talked. Daniel turned away, but not before Maggie saw his face crumple. He'd been so strong for so long. Hearing his little brother speak again broke something open inside him. That night, Charlie said 3 more words, love you, Ma. Maggie held him and wept. They were the first tears she'd cried since the funeral. Not sad tears. Something else. Something that felt almost like hope. The next morning, Blackwood made his move. Sheriff Bullock arrived at dawn with papers. Mrs. Sullivan, I'm here on behalf of the county. There's been a complaint about living conditions. What complaint? Anonymous. Says 3 minors are living in inadequate housing, insufficient food, no proper schooling. Maggie's blood went cold. That's a lie. I'm just doing my job, ma'am. I need to inspect the premises. He pushed past her, looked around the small room with obvious distaste, checked the food stores sparse but sufficient, looked at the boys. When's the last time they had new clothes? We're managing. Don't look like managing to me. He pulled out a form. I'm recommending county intervention. Temporary custody until adequate provisions can be established. You're not taking my children. It's not your decision, ma'am. It's the law. Daniel stepped forward. What law says we can't be poor? Boys, stay out of this. What law says a man can burn down buildings and threaten widows? Daniel, Maggie warned, but her son wasn't finished. Everyone knows Blackwood paid you to do this. Everyone knows you're a coward and a liar. Bullock's face went red. You watch your mouth. Or what, you'll arrest a 12-year-old for telling the truth. If I have to. Jace's voice came from the doorway. No, you won't. He stood there with Isaiah and 4 other men, armed, not threatening but present. This is official business, Hartley. Official corruption, there's a difference. You're interfering with the law. I'm witnessing it. Want to make that arrest, Sheriff? Do it in front of witnesses. Put your name on that paper where everyone can see it. Bullock looked at the men, looked at his form. Finally, he folded it up. This isn't over. Yeah, it is, Jace said. Walk away, Bullock, while you still can. The sheriff left. When he was gone, Maggie's legs gave out. Jace caught her before she hit the floor. I've got you. They were going to take my boys. I know, but they didn't. They won't. You can't promise that. No, but I can make it harder for them to try. He looked at Isaiah. She needs to come to the ranch, all of them, tonight. I can't leave, Maggie protested. I have work. You have a target on your back, Constance said. Jace is right. You need to go somewhere safe. Nowhere safe from Blackwood. My ranches, Jace said. I promise you that. Maggie looked at her boys. Daniel's face was hard. Will's was scared. Charlie was holding her skirt, small hand trembling. How long? Long as it takes, till we figure out how to stop him. She wanted to argue, wanted to insist she could handle this alone, but she looked at Jace's face, steady, certain kind, and the words died. Tonight, she agreed. They left after dark. Everything they owned packed into one trunk. The boys wrapped in blankets against the cold. Jace led them on horseback, moving slow so the wagon could keep up. The ride took 2 hours. Charlie fell asleep against Maggie. Will dozed. Daniel stayed awake watching shadows, one hand on a knife Jace had given him. He's a good kid, Jace said quietly. He's angry. So was I at his age. Hell, so am I now. What changed? Nothing yet, but maybe it will. The ranch appeared through the darkness, small cabin barn fence line stretching into shadow. Smoke rose from the chimney. Someone had prepared for their arrival. Welcome home, Jace said. Maggie looked at the cabin. It wasn't much, but the door was open. The light was warm, and for the first time in 8 months, someone had said the word home and meant it. She climbed down from the wagon. Her boys followed. Together, they walked toward the light. Behind them, the night was dark and cold. Ahead, a fire burned. And for now, that was enough. The cabin was smaller than Maggie expected, but cleaner than anywhere they'd lived in months. One room with a fireplace, a table, 2 chairs, and a bed pushed against the far wall. Jace had strung a canvas sheet across the middle, creating a makeshift divider. Boys sleep by the fire, he said. You take the bed. I'll be in the barn. You don't have to. I do. His voice was flat final. Been sleeping there 4 years. No reason to change now. He left before she could argue. Through the window, Maggie watched him cross the yard, shoulders hunched against the wind. The barn door opened closed. A lamp flickered to life inside. "He's strange," Will whispered. "He's lonely," Maggie said. Daniel was already checking the windows, testing the door. "Locks are solid. Good sight lines. If someone comes, we'll see them." "No one's coming tonight, baby." "You don't know that." He was right. She didn't. They settled in slowly. Maggie made beds on the floor for the boys, using every blanket Jace had left. Will fell asleep immediately, exhausted from the journey. Charlie curled against him, thumb in his mouth. He hadn't done that in years. Daniel sat by the door, knife in his lap. "You need to sleep," Maggie said. "Someone needs to keep watch." "Jace is watching." "I don't trust him." "Why not?" Daniel looked at her with eyes too old for his face. "Because everyone we've trusted has hurt us. The town, the church, even Pa. He promised he'd come home and he didn't. That wasn't his fault. Doesn't matter, he's still gone." Maggie sat beside him. "Jace isn't your father. He's not going to leave." "How do you know?" "Because he's already lost everything. He knows what that feels like. He won't do it to someone else." Daniel wanted to believe her. She could see it in his face, the desperate need for something solid to hold on to. But trust was a luxury they couldn't afford. "Get some sleep," she said gently. "I'll take first watch." "Ma." "That's an order, soldier." He smiled, just a flicker barely there. But it was something. He lay down beside his brothers, kept the knife close, closed his eyes. Maggie sat by the window and watched the barn. The lamp stayed lit all night. Jace Hartley was keeping watch too. Morning came cold and bright. Maggie woke to the smell of coffee and frying bacon. She sat up fast, reaching for the rifle before she remembered where she was. Jace stood at the stove cooking. He'd changed clothes, washed up. He looked almost human. "Didn't mean to startle you." "I should have been up already." "You needed rest." He gestured to the table. "Boys are in the barn. Thought I'd teach them about horses." "Daniel doesn't like horses." "I know. That's why he needs to learn." Through the window, she could see them. Daniel standing stiff and resistant, while Jace showed him how to approach a mare. Will chattering constantly, asking questions. Charlie watching everything with wide eyes. "He's good with them," Maggie said. "Kids or horses?" "Both." Jace flipped the bacon. "Had practice once, long time ago." "Your daughter?" His shoulders tightened. "Lucy. She was 6 when—" He stopped. "She loved the horses. Used to sneak out here before dawn to feed them carrots." "What was she like?" "Stubborn. Fearless. Used to drive Emily crazy, climbing trees, catching snakes." His voice softened. "She had this laugh. You could hear it across the whole ranch." "She sounds wonderful." "She was." He pulled the bacon off the heat. "Then she wasn't. Then she was just gone." The silence stretched. Maggie wanted to say something comforting, but comfort was a lie. "You didn't get over losing a child. You just learned to breathe around the hole they left." "Daniel's afraid to trust you," she said finally. "Smart kid." "I need him to trust someone. He's carrying too much." "Then you trust me first. He'll follow." "I don't know you." "No, but you're here anyway. That's a start." He was right. She'd come to his ranch, brought her children, put them all in his hands. That was trust, even if she didn't want to call it that. Breakfast was the first real meal they'd had in weeks. Bacon, eggs, fresh bread. The boys ate like they were starving, which they almost were. Jace watched them with something like pain in his eyes. "There's more if you want it." Will held out his plate immediately. "Yes, please." Jace filled it, filled all their plates. Didn't eat much himself. After breakfast, he took them outside. "If you're staying here, you need to learn the land. Need to know where the wells are, where the property lines run, where to hide if trouble comes." "You expecting trouble?" Daniel asked. "Always expect trouble. That way you're ready when it arrives." He showed them the fence lines, the creek that ran through the north pasture, the root cellar hidden behind the barn. He showed them 3 different escape routes and made them memorize landmarks. If you hear gunshots, you run for the creek. Follow it north till you hit the big pine with the split trunk. There's a cave behind the rocks. You hide there till I come get you. What if you don't come? Daniel asked. Then you wait till dark and head for the Freeman's place. Don't stop. Don't trust anyone between here and there. Will's eyes were huge. Is it really that dangerous? Don't know yet. Rather be prepared and wrong than unprepared and dead. That afternoon, Jace started building. He didn't explain what, just hauled lumber from the barn and started framing. Daniel watched for a while, then picked up a hammer. What are you doing? Helping. Don't need help. Yeah, you do. Jace looked at him. Something passed between them, some wordless understanding. Finally, Jace nodded. You know how to drive a nail? Pa taught me. Then let's see it. They worked side by side, not talking, just building. After an hour, Maggie realized what they were making: a room, an addition to the cabin, space for the boys. She found Jace measuring a board. You don't have to do this. I know. This is your home. We're intruding. You're not intruding. You're here because you need to be. That's different. For how long? Long as it takes. Takes to do what? He set down the measuring tape. To stop running. To stop being afraid. To remember what it feels like to be safe. I don't know if I remember that. Then I'll remind you. He went back to work. Maggie stood there watching him and Daniel build something together. Watching Will fetch tools and Charlie hold boards steady. Watching her broken family start to look almost whole. That evening, riders came. Jace saw them first. Inside, now. Maggie herded the boys into the cabin. Jace grabbed his rifle, stood on the porch. 3 men on horseback moving slow. Not Blackwood's men. These were rougher, harder. The leader had a scar across his face and eyes like broken glass. This the Hartley Ranch? It is. State your business. Looking for a widow woman. Maggie Sullivan. Heard she might be here. Heard wrong. That's so. The man smiled. Funny. We followed wagon tracks right to your door. Lots of wagons pass through. Not in winter, not this far out. He leaned forward in his saddle. Mr. Blackwood's offering a reward for information about Mrs. Sullivan's whereabouts. $50. That's good money. I've got no information to sell. You sure about that? Inside. Maggie watched through the window. Her heart hammered. Daniel had positioned himself by the door knife ready. Will held Charlie, keeping him quiet. I'm sure, Jace said. Now ride out before I make you. You threatening us? I'm promising. The scarred man laughed. 3 of us. 1 of you. I like those odds. Then you can't count. Jace's voice was ice. Because you're on my land within range of my rifle, and I was a military scout for 8 years. I can put 3 rounds in 3 targets before your hands reach your guns. Want to test that? The silence stretched. Finally, the scarred man spat in the dirt. Blackwood's gonna hear about this. Tell him I said hello. They rode off. Jace didn't move until they disappeared over the ridge. Then he lowered the rifle, walked inside. They'll be back, Daniel said. Probably. With more men. Maybe. So what do we do? Jace looked at Maggie. We prepare, and we make Blackwood understand that coming after you means coming through me. That night they ate dinner in tense silence. Afterward, Jace pulled out a map and spread it on the table. This is Blackwood's land. Runs from here to the river. Railroad's supposed to cut through this valley, but there's a problem. Your husband's mining claim sits right in the middle of the best route. So he needs my claim to finish his railroad, Maggie said. More than that. He needs your claim to make his investors happy. He's promised them a direct route. Without it, costs go up, timeline extends. He loses money and credibility. Good. It also makes you dangerous. Desperate men do desperate things. Daniel studied the map. What if we went to the claim, worked it, proved it's valuable? It's winter. Mining in this weather is suicide. But if we could, we can't. Jace's voice was firm. Best we can do is hold out till spring. Once the thaw comes, we file the paperwork properly. Get witnesses, make it ironclad legal. Then Blackwood can't touch it. That's 3 months, Maggie said. I know. 3 months of hiding. Of your life being in danger because of us. Jace folded the map. My life's been in danger since Emily died. Least now, it's for a reason. Later, after the boys were asleep, Maggie found Jace outside. He was standing by the fence looking at the mountains. You can't keep doing this, she said. Doing what? Punishing yourself. Living like you're already dead. I'm not. You sleep in a barn. You barely eat. You talk about your life like it's already over. She moved closer. That's not living, Jace. That's waiting to die. Maybe that's all I know how to do. Then learn something new. He turned to face her. In the moonlight, his face looked younger, less haunted. What if I don't deserve to... Deserve what? To be happy, to move forward, to... He stopped. To what? To feel alive again. Maggie understood. She'd felt the same way after Daniel died. Like joy was a betrayal. Like happiness meant forgetting. Your wife and daughter, she said quietly. Would they want you to suffer? No. Then honor them by living. Really living. Not just existing. I don't know if I remember how. Neither do I. Maybe we figure it out together. Something shifted in his expression. Hope, maybe. Or the memory of hope. Your boys, he said. Daniel especially. He reminds me of... He stopped again. Of you. Of who I used to be. Before everything broke. He's breaking too. That anger, that need to protect everyone. He's trying to be the man his father was. But he's 12. He should be climbing trees and catching frogs, not planning how to fight off armed men. Can't stop him from growing up. No. But I can give him something worth growing up for. I can show him that the world isn't all cruelty and loss. Jace was quiet for a long moment. Then, you're a better mother than I was a father. You don't know that. I do. Because you're still here, still fighting. I gave up. You're here now. Only because you needed me. Maybe that's enough. Maybe needing each other is how we start living again. He looked at her like she'd said something profound. Maybe she had. She wasn't sure anymore. The line between survival and living was blurrier than she'd thought. The next morning, Blackwood himself came. He rode up with 6 men all armed. He didn't dismount, just sat his horse looking at the cabin like he already owned it. Mrs. Sullivan, I know you're in there. Come out and let's talk like civilized people. Maggie stepped onto the porch. Jace appeared beside her, rifle ready. Say what you came to say, Clayton. Jace. Blackwood smiled. Good to see you. How long's it been? 2 years? Not long enough. Still bitter about the cattle contract. That was business. You cost me half my herd. Market fluctuations. Not my fault you couldn't deliver on time. Maggie felt Jace tense. There was history here, bad blood. What do you want? She asked. Blackwood turned his attention to her. I want to make you rich, Mrs. Sullivan. $300. Final offer. That's more than your husband made in 5 years. The claim's not for sale. Everything's for sale. Question is price. Then my price is something you can't afford. Integrity. His smile vanished. You're making a mistake. The only mistake I made was being polite about saying no. So let me be clear, I will never sell you that claim. Not for 300, not for 3,000. You can threaten me, burn down half the territory, send every hired gun you've got. The answer will always be no. You've got courage, I'll give you that. Blackwood leaned back in his saddle. But courage doesn't stop bullets, doesn't stop accidents, doesn't protect little boys who play too close to frozen rivers. Daniel appeared in the doorway behind them. You threatening my brothers? Son, I don't make threats. I make observations. Rivers are dangerous in winter. Children drown. Tragic, but common. Jace's rifle came up. Ride out, now. Or what you'll shoot me in front of witnesses. That's murder, Jace. Even you can't walk away from that. Try me. The standoff stretched. Finally, Blackwood gathered his reins. You've got till spring, Mrs. Sullivan. After that, I stop being nice. They rode away. Jace lowered the rifle, hands shaking. He threatened my children, Maggie said. Her voice sounded far away. I know. He said he talked about them drowning. I know. She turned to go inside, but her legs wouldn't work. Jace caught her as she fell. I've got you. He's going to kill them. He's going to... No, he's not. I won't let him. You can't stop him. You're one man. Then I'll get help. But Maggie, listen to me. He held her face, made her look at him. Your boys are safe. You're safe. I promise you that. You can't promise. I can. I will. Those boys are under my protection now. Anyone wants to hurt them has to go through me. And I promise you I won't go down easy. She believed him. God help her, she believed him. That afternoon, Jace rode to town. He came back with Isaiah Constance and 4 other families from the resistance. They gathered in the cabin, standing room only. Blackwood's escalating, Jace said. He threatened the children directly. We need to show him he can't do that without consequences. What consequences? Someone asked. We can't fight him. He's got money, mend the law. The law's not on his side. It's on whoever pays the most. Isaiah pulled out a stack of papers. I've been documenting everything. Every fire, every threat, every bribe. Got witnesses, dates, details. Enough to bring federal marshals if we need to. That'll take months. Then we buy months. We make it expensive for him to keep pushing. We protect each other. How? Jace stood. We pool resources, share watches. Anyone sees Blackwood's men, we signal the others. Anyone gets threatened, we all respond. We make it clear that attacking one means attacking all. It was a good plan, maybe even a workable plan. But plans only worked when people followed through. I'm in, the stable owner said. Already lost everything, got nothing left to lose. I'm in, Constance added. Others nodded. Not everyone, but enough. That night they organized shifts. 2 families would watch the roads into town. 2 would watch Blackwood's property. Everyone else stayed ready to respond. Maggie watched it come together and felt something she hadn't felt in months. Not hope exactly, but its shadow. The possibility of hope. After everyone left, she found Jace in the barn. He was brushing down his horse movements, slow and methodical. Thank you, she said. For what? For believing we're worth saving. He paused mid-stroke. You are worth saving. Your boys deserve better than what this town's given them. So did your daughter. His hand stilled. That's different. How? I couldn't save her. But I can save them. That's not how it works, Jace. Saving my boys doesn't bring Lucy back. I know that. Do you? Because it feels like you're trying to fix the past by fixing the present, and that's not fair to any of us. He set down the brush. You want me to stop helping you. No, I want you to help us because you want to, not because you're carrying guilt that isn't yours to carry. It is mine. I wasn't there when they needed me. You were on a cattle drive, working to feed your family. That's not abandonment, that's survival. I should have been there. And if you had been, maybe you'd have gotten sick too. Maybe you'd be in that grave with them. Would that be better? He flinched like she'd hit him. "I'm sorry," she said. "That was cruel." "No, you're right." He sat on a hay bale head in his hands. "I don't know how to let them go. Every time I close my eyes, I see Lucy's face. I hear her asking why I wasn't there to help her." Maggie sat beside him. "My husband promised he'd be home for supper. He promised. And then men came to the door with his body. I was so angry. For months I was furious at him for breaking his promise, for leaving me alone with 3 boys and no money, for dying." "That's not the same." "It's exactly the same. We're both angry at people who didn't choose to leave us, people who would have stayed if they could." Jace looked at her. Really looked at her. "How do you stop being angry?" "I don't know, but I'm trying. Every day I wake up and I choose to try." They sat in silence. Outside wind rattled the barn walls. Inside, horses shifted in their stalls. "Your boys," Jace said finally. "They're good kids. They're survivors. Daniel's got your fire. Will's got his father's optimism, I'd bet. And Charlie," he paused. "Charlie sees everything. That's a gift and a curse. He hasn't spoken much since the accident. Give him time. Sometimes words come back when you feel safe enough to use them. Is that what happened to you? You stopped feeling safe enough for words." He smiled just barely. "Maybe. Then I guess we're both learning how to talk again." She stood to leave. At the door she turned back. "Jace, when this is over, when we've stopped Blackwood and spring comes, what happens then?" "Don't know. Haven't thought that far ahead." "Think about it. Because my boys, they're getting attached to you. And if you're planning to disappear when this is done, I need to prepare them." "I'm not planning anything." "That's the problem. You need a plan. A reason to keep going after we don't need saving anymore." She left him there. As she walked back to the cabin, she heard something from the barn. It took her a moment to recognize it. Jace Hartley was crying. She almost went back. Almost. But some grief needed privacy. Some pain had to be faced alone. So she went inside and held her sleeping sons and let Jace have his moment in the darkness. Tomorrow would come soon enough. Tomorrow and all its battles. But tonight they were all still alive, still together, still fighting. And that was enough. Morning came with frost on the windows and Daniel missing. Maggie woke to find his blankets empty. The door cracked open. Her heart stopped. "Daniel?" Will sat up groggy. "What's wrong? Where's your brother?" He was here when I fell asleep." Maggie ran outside barefoot, nightgown whipping in the wind. The barn door was open. She found Daniel inside with Jace, both of them bent over something on the workbench. "What are you doing?" Her voice came out sharp with fear. Daniel looked up. "Learning to make horseshoes. Jace says if I'm staying here, I need to know how to work metal." "You scared me half to death." "Sorry, Ma. I didn't want to wake you." Jace was watching her carefully. "I should have sent word. That's on me." Maggie's anger drained away, leaving exhaustion. "Next time leave a note." "Yes, ma'am." She went back to the cabin. Her hands were shaking. Every time one of the boys was out of sight, she imagined Blackwood's men taking them. Imagined Frozen River's accidents that weren't accidents. Constance arrived mid-morning with news. "Blackwood's hosting a town meeting tonight. Says he's got an announcement about progress and prosperity." "It's a trap," Maggie said. "Course it is. But folks are going anyway. He's promising jobs, investment. People are desperate." "We should go," Jace said from the doorway. "Hear what he's planning." "He's planning to hurt us. That's what he's planning. Then we need to know how. Can't fight what we can't see." He was right. Maggie hated that he was right. That evening they rode to town. Jace insisted Daniel stay at the ranch with Will and Charlie, guarded by 2 families from the resistance. Daniel argued, but Jace's word was final. "Your ma needs to know you're safe. That's how you help her right now." The town hall was packed. Every citizen of Silverbrook crammed into the small building drawn by Blackwood's promises. He stood at the front, dressed like a king's smile, bright as money. Friends, neighbors, thank you for coming. I know these have been hard times. Long winters, short supplies. But I'm here tonight with good news. The railroad is coming. 6 months, maybe less. When it does, Silverbrook will transform. Jobs, commerce, a future. Applause. Genuine applause. People wanted to believe. But, Blackwood continued, we face an obstacle, a mining claim that blocks the most efficient route. This claim has been abandoned for years. The man who filed it is dead. His widow, he gestured toward Maggie, refuses to sell even though she cannot work it, even though it serves no purpose except to delay progress for everyone. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Maggie felt eyes turn toward her, felt judgment settling like snow. Mrs. Sullivan, I've made you generous offers. You've refused them all. So tonight, I ask the town to help me convince you. Tell her what this railroad means to you. Tell her how her stubbornness affects your children, your livelihoods. A woman stood. My husband lost his job at the mill. We've got 4 children, no food. If the railroad comes, he can work. We can survive. Another voice. My shop's failing. Nobody's got money to buy anything. But railroad workers, they'd need supplies services. They'd save my business. More voices. A chorus of need, anger, desperation, all directed at Maggie. She stood. I understand you're suffering. I'm suffering too, but giving in to threats isn't the answer. It's not a threat, Blackwood said smoothly. It's economics. One woman's pride against an entire town's welfare. That's not fair. You want to talk about fair? You burned down the stable. You threatened my children. You've terrorized this town into submission. Don't talk to me about fair. Mrs. Sullivan, I've made mistakes. I admit that. Sometimes in business we push too hard. But I'm willing to make amends. $500, my final offer. That's enough to start over anywhere you want. Away from this town that's rejected you, away from memories of your late husband. A fresh start. $500. The number hit like a punch. She could go to California, start over, give her boys a real life. And if I say no, then you're condemning these people to another year of hardship, maybe more. Can you live with that? The room was silent, waiting. Maggie looked around at the faces, some hostile, some pleading, some just exhausted. Jace's hand found hers under the table, squeezed once. I can live with it, she said. Because my husband worked that claim. He died believing it would provide for his sons. I won't sell his memory for any price. Blackwood's mask slipped. Just for a second, she saw rage underneath. Then you've made your choice. This town will remember that. He dismissed the meeting. People filed out, giving Maggie wide berth. A few stopped to spit words at her. Selfish. Heartless. You'll regret this. Outside, Jace walked her to the wagon. You did the right thing. Did I? Those people are suffering? Because of Blackwood, not you. Don't let him twist this. He's good at twisting things. So are you. You stood up there and told the truth. That takes courage. A voice came from the shadows. Mrs. Sullivan. Maggie turned. Reverend Pierce stood there, hat in hand, looking older than she remembered. I owe you an apology. I turned you away when you needed shelter. I chose my building over your boys. That was wrong. Yes, it was. I know. And I'm sorry. What Blackwood's doing, threatening children, burning buildings, that's evil. I should have stood against it from the start. Why didn't you? He looked at his hands. Fear. He donates to the church. Without his money, I can't keep the doors open. Can't pay for heat repairs. I told myself I was protecting the congregation. But I was just protecting myself. What changed? Tonight. Watching him turn the whole town against one widow. If that's what my silence enables, then I don't deserve to lead anyone. Maggie wanted to stay angry. It was easier than forgiveness. But she saw genuine remorse in his face. What do you plan to do about it? Stand with you, publicly. Let people know the church won't support tyranny no matter the cost. Blackwood will destroy you. Probably, but at least I'll be able to face God afterward. He walked away. Jace watched him go. That's something at least. One man, against Blackwood's whole operation. Every army starts with one soldier. They rode back to the ranch in silence. When they arrived, Daniel was waiting on the porch, rifle across his knees. Everything okay? For now, Maggie said. How are your brothers? Will wouldn't stop talking. Charlie didn't say anything. Normal. Inside, Will was teaching Charlie to play cards. Simple game matching suits. Charlie was winning. Ma? Will jumped up. Charlie beat me 3 times. That's wonderful, baby. Charlie looked up at her. Did you sell it? The question stopped her cold. His voice was so small, so fragile. No, baby. I didn't sell. Good. He went back to his cards. Pa wouldn't want you to. Maggie's throat closed. She went outside before the boys could see her cry. Jace found her by the fence. He didn't say anything, just stood beside her while she wept. When she was done, he handed her a handkerchief. Charlie's right. Daniel wouldn't want you to sell. How do you know? You never met him? No, but I know you, and no man lucky enough to marry you would want you compromising your principles for money. Money keeps my children fed. So does integrity. Maybe not as directly, but it does. She looked at him. In the moonlight, his face was softer. The hard edges grief had carved were smoothing out. You're different than you were 3 weeks ago. So are you. How am I different? You're fighting again, not just surviving, actually fighting. Is that good? It's alive, that's always good. They stood together. Comfortable silence. Something had shifted between them, subtle but undeniable. Jace, when this is over, don't. Don't what? Don't plan past tomorrow. Tomorrow's all we've got guaranteed. That's a lonely way to live. It's the only way I know. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him that closing yourself off from the future was just another way of dying. But she'd done the same thing after Daniel's death. Lived day to day, refusing to imagine anything beyond immediate survival. Then let's make tomorrow good, she said. How? By choosing to hope it'll come. He smiled. Actually smiled. Small, tentative, but real. All right, I can try that. The attack came 3 nights later. Maggie woke to the smell of smoke. She grabbed the rifle, ran outside. The new room the addition Jace and Daniel had been building was on fire. Boys, get up. They stumbled out in nightclothes. Jace was already hauling water, throwing it on the flames. The fire was small, contained. Deliberate. They weren't trying to burn us out, Jace said. They were sending a message. Daniel found it. A note nailed to the barn door. Last warning. Sell or lose everything. Maggie read it twice. Her hands didn't shake. She was past fear, past anger. Now she was just cold, clear, determined. When's the next town council meeting? 3 days, Jace said. Why? Because I'm done reacting. Time to make them react to me. She spent 3 days preparing. Isaiah helped her file proper paperwork. Constance helped her draft a statement. Jace helped her practice her speech until she could deliver it without trembling. On meeting night, she walked into the council chambers like she owned them. Blackwood was there, of course. Sheriff Bullock. Mayor Harrison, a weak man who did whatever Blackwood wanted. 6 council members, all in Blackwood's pocket. Mrs. Sullivan, the mayor said, surprised. This is a closed session. Wyoming law says council meetings are public unless discussing personnel matters. This isn't personnel, so I'm staying. She sat, opened her folder, pulled out documents. I'm here to file a formal complaint against Clayton Blackwood for arson, intimidation, and attempted extortion. I have witness statements, I have documentation, and I'm requesting a federal investigation. Silence. Complete shocked silence. Blackwood recovered first. This is outrageous. You have no proof. I have 12 witnesses who saw your men at the stable before it burned. I have 3 families who'll testify you threatened them. I have documentation of property transfers where you paid well under market value after mysterious accidents. And I have testimony from Sheriff Bullock's own deputy about bribes you've paid. The mayor paled. Mrs. Sullivan, these are serious accusations. Yes, they are. So I've sent copies to the territorial governor and the federal marshal in Cheyenne. They should arrive in about a week. I imagine they'll want to investigate. Blackwood stood. His face was purple with rage. You're making a fatal mistake. The only fatal mistake would be backing down. She met his eyes. You thought I was weak because I'm a widow, because I have children to protect. But those children are exactly why I can't be weak. They're watching. They're learning what it means to stand up for yourself. And I'll be damned if I teach them that bullies win. She walked out. Behind her, chaos erupted. Shouting, arguments. The sound of Blackwood's carefully built empire beginning to crack. Outside, Jace was waiting with the wagon. How'd it go? I think I just declared war. Good. They rode home. Halfway there, Daniel spoke from the back. Ma, I'm proud of you. Maggie's eyes burned. Thank you, baby. Pa would be too. She couldn't respond, just nodded and kept the horses moving. At the ranch they found company waiting. Reverend Pierce and 10 families from town. They stood in the yard looking determined. Mrs. Sullivan, the Reverend said, we heard what you did tonight. We want to stand with you, publicly. It's dangerous. So is staying silent. One by one they pledged support, testimony, resources, protection. By the time they left, Maggie had a coalition, small but real. That night, she couldn't sleep. Too much adrenaline, too much fear, too much hope. She found Jace in the barn sitting in the hayloft where he slept. He'd made a small space for himself, blankets, a lamp, a picture of Emily and Lucy. Can I come up? It's your barn. She climbed the ladder, sat beside him. He was holding the picture, studying it like he was trying to memorize faces he'd never forget. Emily was beautiful. She was, inside and out. Lucy looks like her. She had Emily's smile, but she was stubborn like me. Used to drive us both crazy. Tell me about her. Not how she died, how she lived. Jace was quiet. Then slowly, he started talking. Stories about Lucy's first steps, first words. About teaching her to ride, to read, to milk cows. About how she used to sneak cookies before dinner and hide the evidence in the barn. She was good, he said finally. Pure good. The kind of child who made you believe the world wasn't so bad. Then the world's lucky she was in it, even if it was only for 6 years. You think 6 years is enough? I think it's better than nothing. Better than her never existing at all. He looked at Maggie. When did you get so wise? I'm not wise. I'm just tired of grief winning. What if it keeps winning? What if we can't stop Blackwood? Then we lose fighting. That's still better than surrendering. Jace set down the picture. I haven't fought for anything in 4 years. Don't know if I remember how. You're fighting now. For us. That's different. How? Because it's not for me. It's for you and your boys. So make it for you too. Fight for yourself. Fight for the chance to be happy again. I don't deserve... Stop. She grabbed his hand. Stop saying that. You deserve every bit of happiness you can find. Emily would want that. Lucy would want that. You don't know what they'd want. Yes, I do. Because I'm a mother. And if something happened to me, I'd want my boys to keep living. Really living. Not just existing in the shadows. He pulled his hand away. It's not that simple. It is. You're making it complicated because complicated feels like loyalty. But Emily's gone, Jace. She's not coming back. And staying broken doesn't honor her. It just wastes the life she'd want you to live. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I'm doing the same thing, using Daniel's memory as an excuse not to move forward, not to imagine a future beyond survival. So what do? We choose. Every day we choose to live instead of just existing. He looked at her, really looked at her, and something in his face changed. I'm falling for you, he said quietly, and I don't know what to do about it. Maggie's breath caught. Jace, I know it's too soon. I know I'm broken. I know I've got nothing to offer you except a half-dead ranch and more trouble than you already have. But I look at you and I feel something I thought died with Emily, and it terrifies me. She should have been surprised, should have pulled away. Instead, she moved closer. I'm terrified too, because I swore after Daniel died that I'd never let anyone close again, never risk that kind of pain. But you, her voice broke. You make me want to risk it anyway. We're a mess. Yes. This could be a disaster. Probably. Your boys are getting attached to you whether we do this or not. He touched her face. Gentle, uncertain. If we do this, I need you to know I don't heal fast. I don't know if I'll ever stop missing Emily. I don't expect you to. I don't expect anything except honesty. I can do honest. He kissed her, soft at first, then deeper. 4 years of loneliness pouring into one moment. When they broke apart, both were shaking. What now? He whispered. Now we survive. We fight Blackwood. We protect my boys. And when this is over, if we survive, we figure out what comes next. And if we don't survive, then at least we'll know we tried. They held each other in the hayloft while stars turned overhead. Two broken people finding comfort in shared pain. Finding hope in the space between grief and healing. Below the ranch was quiet. The boys slept safe. Tomorrow would bring new battles. But tonight, for the first time in years, neither Jace nor Maggie felt alone. And that was something worth fighting for. Morning came different. Maggie woke to find Jace making breakfast in the cabin instead of hiding in the barn. He'd shaved, changed into clean clothes. He looked almost alive. Daniel noticed immediately. You're inside. Seemed like time, Jace said. Why now? Jace glanced at Maggie. Because your ma reminded me that living beats existing. Daniel studied them both. He was 12, but he understood what he was seeing. Finally, he nodded. About time. Will bounced over. Does this mean you're staying? Like really staying? If your ma'll have me. She will. Right, Ma? Maggie poured coffee to hide her smile. We'll see. But Charlie spoke up, voice quiet, but certain. He's staying. He loves us. The room went silent. Jace knelt down to Charlie's level. You're right. I do. I know. I can tell. Charlie touched Jace's face. You look different now. Not so sad. Still sad sometimes, but less. That's good. Sad is heavy. Jace pulled him into a hug. When he stood, his eyes were wet. 2 days later, the federal marshal arrived. His name was Thomas Reed, a tall man with gray eyes and a reputation for honesty. Blackwood met him at the edge of town with smiles and handshakes. By noon, Reed was at the ranch. Mrs. Sullivan, I'm here about your complaint against Clayton Blackwood. Thank you for coming. Don't thank me yet. I need evidence. Real evidence, not just accusations. Maggie handed him her folder. Witness statements. Documentation. Testimony from 12 families. Reed read through it slowly, expression never changing. This is substantial, but Blackwood's got his own witnesses. People saying you threatened him, tried to extort higher prices, made false accusations. That's a lie. Prove it. How everyone who'd testify against him is terrified. Reed looked at her. Then my hands are tied. Without corroborating evidence from neutral parties, this becomes he said, she said, and Blackwood's got more people saying he said. So he wins. Unless you can give me something solid, something he can't talk his way around. After Reed left, Maggie sat at the table, head in her hands. We're losing. Not yet, Jace said. He's got the marshal convinced I'm lying. The marshal's doing his job. He needs proof. We don't have proof. Daniel appeared in the doorway. Yes, we do. What? The night the stable burned, I couldn't sleep. I went outside and I saw them. Saw who? Blackwood's men. 3 of them. I followed them to the stable, watched them pour kerosene, light the fires. Maggie's heart stopped. Why didn't you tell me? I thought it didn't matter. Thought no one would believe a kid. Daniel, you're a witness. You saw them. Will Reed believe me? He'll have to. You're 12. You've got no reason to lie. But when they brought Daniel to Reed, the marshal was skeptical. Son, this is serious business. You sure about what you saw? Yes, sir. It was dark. You could have been mistaken. It wasn't dark. Moon was full. I saw their faces clear. Can you identify them? Yes, sir. Tucker, the one with the scar. And 2 others who work at Blackwood's office. Reed made notes. Anyone else see this? No, sir. Just me. Then it's still your word against theirs. With respect, sir, why would I lie? What do I gain? Reed studied him. Good question. What do you gain? Nothing. Except maybe Blackwood stops hurting people. Something shifted in Reed's expression. All right, I'll investigate. But son, if you're lying, there'll be consequences. I'm not lying. Reed left. Daniel turned to Maggie. Did I do okay? You did perfect, baby. That night, Reed questioned Blackwood's men. Tucker cracked first admitted to the arson, but claimed Blackwood didn't know. The other 2 backed his story. Blackwood expressed shock, promised to cooperate fully. But it won't stick, Isaiah said when he heard. Tucker'll take the fall. Blackwood walks away clean. Not if we can connect them, Jace said. How? Tucker works for Blackwood. Has for years. There'll be records, payment ledgers, something. They spent the next week digging. Isaiah searched county records. Constance talked to every seamstress and shop owner, gathering gossip. Maggie interviewed families who'd been threatened. Slowly, a pattern emerged. Every family Blackwood had pressured Tucker had visited first. Every fire, every accident, Tucker was nearby. The man was Blackwood's weapon. Reed saw it too. This is good, but it's still circumstantial. I need direct evidence of Blackwood ordering the crimes. How do we get that? Maggie asked. You don't. I do. Reed set up a trap. He told Blackwood that Mrs. Sullivan was ready to negotiate, that she was scared and willing to sell cheap. Blackwood took the bait, agreed to meet her at the ranch. He'll try to intimidate you, Reed warned. When he does, I need you to push back. Make him angry. Angry men make mistakes. The meeting was set for Friday afternoon. Maggie spent the morning preparing. Jace wanted to be there, but Reed refused. She needs to be alone. Blackwood's less guarded without witnesses. I don't like it. Neither do I, Maggie said. But we're out of options. Blackwood arrived exactly on time. He walked into the cabin like he owned it, that same poisonous smile. Mrs. Sullivan, I'm glad you've come to your senses. I didn't say I was selling. Then why am I here? Marshal Reed thought we should talk, clear the air. Blackwood's smile thinned. Where is Reed? In town. This is just you and me. He relaxed slightly. Good. We can speak plainly. You want money. I want your claim. Let's stop pretending this is about anything else. It's about my husband's legacy. Your husband's dead. Legacies don't feed children. Neither does selling out to men who burn down buildings. You can't prove I had anything to do with that fire. Tucker confessed. Tucker's a fool who acted without authorization. I've already dismissed him. Convenient. Blackwood leaned forward. Mrs. Sullivan, let me be clear. With or without your cooperation, that railroad's getting built. I can make this easy for you. $500 a fresh start. Or I can make it hard. The choice is yours. What does hard look like? More accidents, more fires. Maybe next time someone gets hurt. Maybe one of your boys. There it was. The threat, clear and direct. You're saying you'll hurt my children if I don't sell. I'm saying accidents happen, especially to people who make themselves obstacles. Outside, hidden in the barn, Reed was recording every word. Modern equipment borrowed from the territorial office. Every threat documented. Maggie pushed harder. You've already tried to hurt them. The note on the barn, the fire, the threats. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. You ordered Tucker to burn the stable. You threatened Daniel by the river. You've terrorized this whole town. Blackwood stood. This conversation is over. Why? Because I'm finally saying out loud what everyone knows. Because you're delusional. A desperate widow making wild accusations. Then why are you here? If I'm so delusional, why bother meeting with me? He paused at the door. Because I wanted to give you one last chance. But you're too stubborn, too stupid. So now you'll learn what happens to people who stand in my way. He left. Reed emerged from the barn with the recording equipment. Got it, every word. That evening, Reed arrested Clayton Blackwood on charges of arson, extortion, conspiracy, and terroristic threats. The whole town watched as he was led away in handcuffs, still protesting his innocence. Tucker turned state's evidence, gave detailed testimony about everything Blackwood had ordered. The railroad deal collapsed. Investors pulled out. Within a week, Blackwood's empire was rubble. But the damage he'd done remained. The town was divided. Half the people celebrated Blackwood's arrest. The other half blamed Maggie for destroying their chance at prosperity. She couldn't walk down Main Street without hearing whispers. She ruined everything. Selfish woman. We could have had jobs, a future. Reverend Pierce preached forgiveness from his pulpit, but half the congregation stopped attending. Those who did treated Maggie with cold politeness. Give them time, Isaiah said. They'll come around. Will they? Some will, some won't. That's life. Winter deepened. Snow piled higher. The town struggled without Blackwood's money. People were angry, scared, desperate. Then, in March, something unexpected happened. A different railroad company arrived, smaller, more ethical. They'd heard about the route, done their own surveys. They approached Maggie with a fair offer for right-of-way access across her claim. We don't need to own it, the engineer explained. Just permission to build through it. We'll pay annual fees. You keep the claim, we get our route. Everybody wins. The offer was reasonable, legal, respectful. Maggie took it. The town's attitude shifted overnight. Suddenly, she was a hero, the woman who'd stood up to corruption and brought them honest progress. People who'd cursed her name were now praising her courage. Hypocrites, Daniel muttered. Human beings, Maggie corrected. Scared people do scared things. Now they're not scared anymore. You forgive them that easy. I don't forget, but I forgive. Anger's too heavy to carry forever. Construction began in April. The new company hired local workers, paid fair wages, treated everyone with respect. Slowly, Silverbrook started to heal, and slowly, Maggie started to breathe. One evening in May, Jace took her to the hill where Emily and Lucy were buried. They stood by the graves while sunset painted the sky gold and red. I need to tell them about you, he said. Tell them what? That I'm moving forward, that I'm choosing to live again. You think they're listening? I hope so. He knelt by Lucy's grave. "Baby girl, I want you to meet someone. Her name's Maggie. She's got 3 boys who need a father. And I think I might love her. Not the way I loved your mama. Different, but real." He stood, turned to Emily's grave. "Ellie, I'm sorry it took me so long. Sorry I wasted 4 years being angry at myself. But I'm done with that now. I'm gonna live, really live. The way you always wanted me to. And I hope wherever you are, I hope you're happy about that." Maggie took his hand. "They're happy. I know they are." "How do you know?" "Because love doesn't end. It changes, but it doesn't end." They stood together as stars emerged. Behind them, the ranch house glowed with lamplight. Inside, 3 boys were laughing at something Will said. A family learning how to be whole again. "Marry me," Jace said. Maggie's breath caught. "What?" "Marry me. Make this real. Make us a family legal and proper." "Jace, we've known each other 4 months." "I don't care. I wasted 4 years being dead inside. I'm not wasting another day. I love you. I love your boys. I want to build a life with you. A real one. If you'll have me." She looked at his face. Saw hope there. Saw fear. Saw love. "Yes. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. On one condition." "Anything." "We do it right. Big wedding. The whole town. I want everyone to see that broken people can heal. That second chances are real." He kissed her, then deep and certain. Below them, the valley was dark. Above them, stars burned bright. And between earth and sky, 2 people chose hope over grief. They married in June, when wildflowers covered the valley. Reverend Pierce officiated, voice strong and clear. The whole town attended. Even people who'd cursed Maggie stood and cheered when Jace kissed his bride. Daniel stood beside Jace as best man. Will and Charlie held flowers. All 3 boys were crying happy tears. "Your pa would be proud," Jace told Daniel. "I know, but you're here now. That matters too." The reception lasted all day. Food, music, dancing. People who'd been enemies weeks before were now sharing tables, sharing hope. As sunset approached, Maggie found herself on the porch with Constance. "You did it," Constance said. "You survived." "We survived. All of us. More than survived. You fought. You won." "Did I? Half the town still hates me?" "Half the town's learning to respect you. There's a difference." Constance squeezed her hand. "You showed them what courage looks like, what refusing to break looks like. That matters." Inside, Jace was teaching Will to dance. Charlie was asleep in Isaiah's arms. Daniel was talking to Reed, who'd stayed for the wedding. This was family. Not the one she'd been born into, or the one she'd lost, the one she'd built from broken pieces and stubborn hope. "Ma," Will called. "Come dance." She went inside. Jace swept her into his arms, spinning her around the crowded room. Her boys were laughing. The town was healing, and for the first time in almost a year, Maggie felt something she'd forgotten existed. Joy. That night, after everyone left, the 5 of them sat on the porch. Stars filled the sky. Somewhere a coyote called. Somewhere else an owl answered. "Are we a family now?" Charlie asked. "We've been a family for a while, baby," Maggie said. "But now it's official," Will added. "Right, Pa?" Jace's eyes went bright when Will called him Pa. "Right, son. Official." Daniel was quiet, looking at the mountains. Finally he spoke. "My real pa would have liked you." "You think so?" "I know so. He would have liked that you protect us, that you make Ma happy, that you stayed when everyone else left. I'm not going anywhere." "I know. That's why he'd like you." They sat together as night deepened. A family made from loss, built on choice, held together by love that refused to quit. Morning would bring work. The ranch needed repairs. The addition needed finishing. 3 boys needed raising. A marriage needed tending. But tonight they were complete. Broken pieces fitted together into something whole. Maggie looked at her husband, her sons, her home. She thought about the 23 doors that had closed in her face, thought about the town that had rejected her, thought about the fight that had nearly destroyed her. And she was grateful for every single moment. Because without the rejection, she wouldn't have found Jace. Without the fight, she wouldn't have found her strength. Without the breaking, she wouldn't have learned how to heal. "What are you thinking?" Jace asked. "That I'd knock on those 23 doors again if it meant ending up here. With me? With all of you, my whole impossible family." Charlie leaned against her. "We're home now. Right, Ma?" Maggie pulled him close, looked at the ranch, her ranch, their ranch, and felt the weight of 8 months finally lift. "Yes, baby, we're home." And this time, she meant it. Not a place someone let them borrow, not shelter from the storm, but home, real, permanent theirs, built from courage, defended with love, held together by people who chose each other when the world said they couldn't. They'd been rejected, threatened, nearly destroyed. But they'd survived. More than survived. They'd won. And that was everything.